We gotta talk about it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mark from Solar Games. Yep, Wizard dropped the big news. We've reprinted the reserve list. Oof. This is pretty big for two reasons. One is they've never done this before. For 30 years, I think the one time they made a mistake was from the vault with the Mox Diamond, etc. They realized they made a mistake. It was big backlash, so they really backed off and really specified the reprint policy around reserve list. And now for the 30th anniversary, they decided that they're just going to break this promise that they've made for many, many years, right? Yeah. I think I watched Rudy's video from I think a couple days ago about the pseudo reserve list, about the serialized cards and how that actually specifies or signifies like a new move within Wizard. This whole idea of like you're moving forward with having a pseudo reserve list, having a way for newer collectors to be able to get into the game, have some collection piece that they can hold on to for 20, 30, 40 years and really feel like there's value. I had a different take on that. I felt like that wasn't as powerful or strong as how Rudy felt. For the reason because, if something is special because you made it special, like intentionally, then I don't know if it's really special. Especially if we have serialized cards going into the future. There's going to be serialized cards every set. I mean, look at the baseball card world. Nobody really cares for like all these serialized. There's going to be serialized cards all the time. And so when you have so many, it's just like showcase. It's just like box toppers, anything. When you have too many of them, it loses all value. So if Wizard does say something like, hey, serialized cards for this set and nothing else for another 2, 3, 4 years, and then once again, then I would say these serialized cards will have value. But if they're going to do that for every set, and right now it looks like they're really desperate, right? So I don't know. First of all, I think it's great that they are printing basically proxies, right, for players. I think that the fact that there are already fake proxies out there, that doesn't really matter. And meaning, like, here's the reality. You can buy a Black Lotus today. You can buy Power 9s. They're all going to be fake. And they're fine. You can proxy them. They can even have the real Magic back, right? Or, what it looks like a real Magic back, but they're going to be fake cards. It's fine. You could get that today. You don't have to buy the officially Wizard sanctioned with the arguably ugly back that they're going to put on these 30th anniversary cards. Yeah. Now, it's not gold border, so you don't have the problem with like the border rubbing off like the collector's editions. Or square, it's kind of like a weird shape. That round corner does feel a lot better and less likely to, damage and things like that. So it's a better collector piece, right? So if there is no reserve list and we're just printing cards that are kind of cool, I think this is a great idea. I don't have any problems with this. I even think that this will not do anything to the secondary market for reserve list cards. Now, my main issue, right? So I've talked about the first issue. I think it's really bad that they're breaking precedent. My main issue is, what does this mean for the future? The way I see it with, Lost Legends, which again, they found the boxes. They didn't find the boxes. They had them all along. They were just waiting for like the right moment to put it into a promotional product. And they found it with the Dominaria United booster box set. Then they have serialized cards for Brothers War, which is now your pseudo reserve list. It's a new way for people to collect, a very new thing. Obviously, there was the Viscera collectible, piece, but now we have true serialized cards also within the coming sets. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is going to stop. They're going to have serialized sets going into the future until this thing basically washes out. Until the serialized version of that card is worth about the same as like the non-serialized card, or it dilutes this non-serialized card value so much it doesn't matter. It all comes down to print set. I mean, look at what happened in Flesh and Blood. Once you release print numbers that are way higher than what the market can hold, now those cold foils aren't so special anymore. First edition just feels like normal edition. Then there's no point in having the other crappier edition, right? Implied rarity doesn't mean anything unless you make it actually rare. You can't just say this is rare, print 1 million copies of it, and it's actually rare. The reason Black Lotus commands the price it does is because it's truly a rare card. There are not that many cards Black Lotus out there, and definitely not that many Black Lotuses in good condition. And that's the key. I think if you start printing more of them, right? And sure, you can say it's rare, but it's not actually rare if there are many copies flowing out there. I think, again, the biggest issue with this whole thing is it's a slippery slope. If they open the gates on this item, and they're kind of testing the water, right? So I know there's arguments out there on legality of this thing. I took a really deep read of the reprint policy. I think it was updated in 2016. You can find it on Wizard's website. I'll link it in the description below. The policy actually clearly states that the reprint policy, while it does affect things like type line, the art, the mana cost, the card name, the description, the effect, those kind of things, it does not include cards that are not tournament legal. I guess the argument here would be, do they mean that if the card is made into a tournament illegal form? For example, what if I make a Black Lotus that looks just like a normal Black Lotus, except it's like a tiny card? Then is that legal to reprint that card, right? What if I make a Black Lotus, except the back is not a magic back, meaning it's not tournament legal? Would it be okay to use? This is where it gets really tricky, right? Essentially what they've done is they've actually printed the card in most shape, form, just like the normal real card would be. Except there's like, on the front at least, it looks basically like the old school card. Now, again, even the bordering, it's slightly different. The colors are not going to be the same as your original copies. It's going to have a 30th anniversary collection set stamp. And the back is going to be a very special artwork for the 30th anniversary. The question is this violating the reprint policy? It's a good question. I'm not sure, right? I think it's not, because they've legally said they can print it as long as the resulting card, sounds like, is not tournament legal. Now, I always read that rule as they can reprint a tournament illegal card if it's on the reserve list, but that doesn't really make sense because all the cards on the reserve list are real cards. They're not tournament illegal. I was thinking something like maybe like one of the unsets or something. Anyways, doesn't matter. Sounds like they could have always done this before anyways. Didn't seem like they broke any issues. There's a second legality problem that they have to face, which is the art. So a lot of the art back in the old school days, right? They're not like today where they are commissioned art. So where you would say, hey, XYZ artist, draw me some stuff. I'll pay you X amount of money for those art, right? And then they have kind of like a huge database of art that they've already purchased from artists en masse, and then they can use them for cards in the future. They might be asking for cards now. So what essentially happens is like they'll, if they're drawing a set, they'll ask a bunch of artists to do the art for the set. They'll pay them for the art. Now Wizard wholly owns the art. They can put it onto as many cards as they want to for basically ever. Any of the art that they don't use for cards currently goes into a pile called slush, and those art can always be used for a future set. So that's basically, sometimes they'll find a card in the future that really matches the art that an artist might have submitted but never got used on a card. That then actually becomes art for a new card. The issue with old school art was it was not done this way. It was done on commission, right? It was done on royalty. So basically, like Chris Rush drawing the Black Lotus would have sold, he didn't sell the rights of the Black Lotus artwork to Wizard. What he sold instead was Wizard's ability to use it for a print run. So when Wizard says, I need to print alpha, I'm gonna use your art, Chris Rush says, great, cool. Give me like a royalty based on how many you're gonna print, that kind of thing. Just have an idea of that. And then of course, they would write him a check for every single time that the print happens, essentially. That's on the royalty system. So if they were to reprint, for example, Beta comes around and say, hey, Chris, we're going to use a card again. Chris says, great, give me more money, right? Unlimited, give me more money. So essentially, the old school model of a lot of the artwork are going to be, give me more money if you're going to print it again. Here's the problem. Sounds like they announced all this stuff without offering the artists anything. So I saw some Twitter threads about a couple of the artists and the artists' families, because some of the artists have already passed away. And basically, the thread looks like, hey, we never got contacted that Wizard's going to do this. And these are newly printed cards, which means legally they're supposed to pay royalty to the artist and the artist family. In fact, the Wizards have even in the past tried to purchase some of the rights to the artwork and never got them. Now, had they just went to new artists and said, hey, commission, draw me a new art, I guess they could have gotten that done and they wouldn't have legality issues. The problem right now is, can they actually do this without causing problems? I don't know. This is going to get a little kind of interesting here. I'm not sure what would actually happen. So the reality is, yes, do I have reserve list cards? I do. Do I have a substantial amount? Maybe substantial to some of my viewers, but not substantial in the like field of the people who are really true, like big collectors, right? I'm a small grain of rice in the field of like all the collectors out there. Really, it's what I have is nothing compared to them. So there's going to be a lot more angry people who are probably going to be rah-rah, going to lawsuit over this thing, because they have already threatened to do this before. We have all this conversation about like, oh, if Wizards ever reprint the reserve list, people are going to sue. That's why you can't do it. Well, they're doing it. So it's like, hey man, your move. What are you going to do about it, right? I just punch you in the face. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. Anyways, it happened. The downside detriment of this, I think, is Wizards getting desperate. I don't know what's going on internally, but they're getting very desperate. If they have to draw upon this to make their numbers this year, they're very desperate. And let's be real, this is trying to make their numbers. These aren't $3.99 packs. These aren't $10 packs. These aren't $100 packs. These packs are $250 each. And you have to buy them in case of 4. You can't just buy a single pack. So you're paying $1,000 for 4 packs of cards, 15 cards. Yeah. Understand what you're buying. You're buying 15 cards that aren't even tournament legal, and they're going to be randomized. So if you want to collect a whole set, good luck. Really. Back in the old school days, those collector edition boxes they would sell for alpha, beta, whatever, unlimited. I guess never unlimited. Those box sets would sell for $100 for the whole thing. But you got every single card. You got one copy of every single card. So let's say you want a play set of every single card. You buy 4 of those, costs you $400. That's back in the old school days. Now they're asking you to pay $250 for 15 cards. Or realistically, what they're asking for is $1,000 for, 60 cards. Yeah. 4 rares. Okay, let's say you get 8 rares. You get 1 Volcanic Island. You can get a Volcanic Island revised for $400, $500 nowadays. Right now, it's pretty bottom market for revised duels. And with this kind of news dropping, I'm sure those revised are going to drop again. I'm surprised. I wonder if a lot of these Card Kingdoms and whatever other companies aren't going to pull back their buy list. They might. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, this is like what my previous video was talking about. I'm not against Wizard doing any of this stuff. Essentially, not like, theoretically I'm not against it, because reality is it's $250 for a pack. You might get a crappy rare. Not every rare is good. There's chaos lace, okay? It's not like every card is good. And if you get one of the crappy cards, cool, good luck, have fun, right? So essentially what they're doing, Wizards doing, is they're affirming the price of those cards. They're printing fake proxy versions of that card, the real one, at the real card's price. If anything, the real card's gonna have to go up even more, right? Because Wizards basically telling you that's what that card's gonna cost. Yeah. But for me personally, I just think number one, it's going to be a slippery slope. We're moving down a path that I'm not sure if Wizard wants to be part of. They're grabbing short-term cash and forgetting about long-term brand, IP, and all the things that makes Magic special. The reason why this playmat I have, that's like this, the Black Lotus playmat, you guys probably seen this before, right? Means a lot to Pete players, right? I have a lot of friends who also have this playmat. It means a lot to them because the card is special. Once you start going down this slippery slope, and you make cards that are special, not so special, I don't know what happens to the brand. I don't know what happens to IP. Honestly, people might just go back and say, you know what? Forget this game. Yes, short term, Wizards going to make a bump in their revenue. They're going to hit their numbers. Everyone's going to be happy. Stock's going to go up this year. Long term, I don't know. It's tricky. And so this is where rubber meets the road, guys. If they don't meet their numbers and they're doing these desperate things and they still don't meet the numbers, because I can tell you right now, I'm already calling it. Serialized cards are not going to save Brothers War. If putting Legends packs, basically, into collector boosters didn't save Dominaria United, serialized cards are not going to save Brothers War. And those sketch art things, people didn't like them when they had them in Modern Horizons 2. They're not going to like them here. I can already tell you that much. So at this point, it's bad because it's a slippery slope. And all I can see is Wizards desperate. And everyone knows when someone's desperate, they're saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, right? What do you want to do? Almost everybody at this moment backs away. You take a step back. Slowly you think, start reevaluating your position, reassessing your strength, where you are here, and you might say, you know what? You're too desperate. Maybe I don't want that. Yeah, so what can I say? Wizards are so desperate.